Pursuit of victory, pursuit of victory, pursuit of victory. Life ain't no mystery. Read up on history. Taking all these concepts, don't take it out of context, but pursuit of victory. Yeah. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the P.O.V podcast by your host, Victory Waterway. Thank you for tuning in and watching this episode. For anybody who saw previous episodes, appreciate it. Make sure that you subscribe, comment on future things you want me to talk about, or just in general how you feel. Like, and make sure you share the video. So with that being said, let's get into it. So the quote of the day today is, "The way I see it, if you want the rainbow, you gotta put up with the rain," by Dolly Parton. So I feel like that's basically saying that anything that you want in life, you have to work for and get it. It's not just gonna come to you as much as you want it. You have to actually put in work. You have to be determined. You have to be motivated, and you have to not give up regardless of what people say. If you have that mentality, I don't think there's no way you can succeed. It might take a while, but it definitely can happen. So I feel like that's what it means. I hope you can take it and it brings some clarity to your life. The recommendation today, it's a movie. It's called Samsara, Samsara. If you need the link or anything, just hit me up on, on Instagram, and I'll send you it. So it's similar to Baraka as far as there's no dialogue, a lot of visuals and music in the background at times. I think it's dope, very visual stimulating, very very visually stimulating. So I just recommend it. Go check it out if you're bored, you know what I mean, during this quarantine. It's something to just check out. It does start off slow, kind of like similar like Baraka, but if you give it a chance, I feel like you'll find it interesting. So yeah, go check that out. So I wanted to show a piece today before I get into anything. This is a piece I did 5 years ago. I feel like it's going to relate to what I'm going to discuss today. So I'll show it to you. So it's this piece right here. This piece I did about 5 years ago. So when I first did it, it's cut off for many reasons. I think because translation got lost. It was supposed to originally say black is beautiful, but what it actually says is black is good. But I think either way, it's straight black is beautiful or black is good. Because oftentimes people portray like black is bad, and I'm talking about specifically skin color, So I did this piece mostly because I wanted to show that I wanted to do a piece that just shows I'm still connected to my roots. I haven't forgotten everything, But pretty much if you look at it, it says so nyeusi ni nzuri, and if you look at it, there's the nose, there's the nappy hair, and there's the dreads and the lips. And those features are usually made fun of, and a lot of people end up growing up and having self-hatred towards what they look like. A lot of parents shit on them, and I think without even realizing, in instances of it could be like your parents telling you, oh, your hair is always nappy and all that. And once you grow up, I feel like it's one of those things where if you never deal with that, if you never are able to look in the mirror and just be proud of yourself for who you are, you're gonna end up hating yourself. And then this translates to even when you see people who look at you, who look like you end up having self-hatred towards them. So I just wanted to show that piece to just kind of inspire people and, to shout out blackness, because black is good, you know what I mean? It's not anything the way they put it on TV, you know what I mean? So I just feel like that piece was inspiring. That's why I wanted to show it to you. And I guess we can segue this into what I want to talk about, which is my experiences growing up in America, being an African, and just relating to a lot of things that's happened. So to give you a background, like I said, my name is Victor Waterway. I came here in 2004, so I've been in America for about 16 years. It's one of those things where definitely coming here, I had to adjust to a lot of things, and it wasn't easy, but eventually I learned how things work. But I feel like people forget this, but you have to understand that I grew up here, I've been here like 16 years, so I had to adapt to a lot of things. I had to adapt to the language, I had to adapt to the lifestyle, the way things work. So I think with as far as my experiences, if you're African and you grew up here, maybe you can relate to what I'm saying. But with me, I've just always gotten this vibe from people, and it's weird. I don't know like where it comes from, but maybe as far as dissecting, I do see maybe why it happens. But whenever I talk to people the way that I talk, they assume because of how I talk that I don't know anything about my culture. You know what I mean? I don't care about my culture, which is not necessarily true. I just think it's the fact that with them, they haven't gotten any time to really take in the time to know me, ask me questions. Because people don't do that. They just assume that, oh, he speaks really good English, whatever, therefore he definitely cannot know his culture, whatever. I've gotten it from multiple people, whether it's like interacting with white people and, you know, they'll give me the, oh my God, your English sounds so good. And I'm like, so what does that mean? Like, am I exempt for certain stuff because I speak English well, which is definitely not true, because the treatment is still the same. You still get shitted on, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Or like I've seen at times where people they'll say all of that, your English is good, and then it's been like in the workplace or outside of work or just interact with different people that when I do speak my language, it throws them off because they weren't expecting that. You know what I mean? Even with family and friends, I've seen literally that they forget that I know how to speak my language. Not as fluently as when I first came here, but don't get it twisted. Like, if you're talking about me, I can still understand you because we have two languages, there's Swahili and there's Kikuyu. And with Swahili, I think I can get around it. I can make my way around it. Like, I might not know how to say everything, but, like, I know the basics is pretty much what I'm trying to say. Whereas with Kikuyu, I suck as far as speaking. Like, I can just be honest. My Kikuyu is pretty trash. But I can't front as far as like hearing it. I understand Kikuyu perfectly. Like, you know, I can just know what someone is saying. You know what I mean? I always tell people it's better to know something than nothing. Well, I didn't particularly say that, but it's one of those things that I relate to. Yeah, it's better to know something than nothing at all. Because, and then also it goes back to why I said my favorite quote is looks can be deceiving, because people are deceived by how I look, how I talk, or whatever. They have a perception of me, and it's not always like they have this one idea, and then when they do interact with me, it's like, oh shit, like they're tripped out. Like, I see it all the time. So there was that aspect. It's like I've always gotten this weird like interaction level with people, whether it be like friends, family members, when I go to school, teachers, certain students. So yeah, it was just it was like a weird upbringing, I guess, as far as here. Also, like, another aspect is as far as growing up here, I feel like with me, I really enjoyed growing up here. Not all of it, but certain aspects of it, in the sense that, like, when I came here, I feel like growing up here, being that when I was 9 is when I came here. So 16 years of growing up here, I really got to experience the African American experience, like what they go through. And I feel like I really relate to a lot of African Americans. Like, when some fucked up shit happens, I feel like a lot of Africans do this thing where they're so disconnected and they're so prideful about being African that they forget African Americans are still like family in a way. That's how I look at it, because I don't separate that. If you're from Haiti, if you're from the Caribbeans, if you're Dominican, if you're Puerto Rican, I still see myself on you, because I know you're black at the end of the day. It's just I know that you don't want to embrace it because of the way that we've been portrayed on TV and movies. Because I really think that if we were portrayed in a positive light, more people would claim being African or being black, whatever you want to call it. So with me, I think I've always understood the African American experience, because some of the same things that they face, I've literally been in positions where the same things has happened to me, and it humbled myself down to the fact that, like, I may be African, but I still get the same treatment. And it's unfortunate that a lot of, like, Africans, or a lot of these other races too, like, they won't relate to African Americans until some racist shit happens to them, which is really unfortunate, because we're family at the end of the day. If you look at history, it shows that we're family, you know, but a lot of y'all don't want to do that. But, you know, like, another thing I wanted to say is I wanted to defend African Americans, because a lot of the times when Africans are shitting on them, and it definitely happens. I think this is why even where Black Panther was really for real, because that dynamic really does exist. Africans like feeling like they're better than African Americans, and you know, maybe this is why like African Americans don't even like to interact with certain like African people. So I'm not saying it's all of them, but I see why sometimes, because they're constantly getting shitted on. But this is what I would say, because they're never there to defend themselves when these things happen. But it's the fact that you gotta give respect to African Americans, because without them, none of the stuff that we're able to do today would be possible. Like, you know what I mean? They literally died for freedom. They died for us to like vote and all this stuff, and nobody ever talks about that. Nobody's ever willing to learn their history and really give them a big up. Because like I said, at the end of the day, we're family, so like why are we doing all this fighting? We're so caught up in fighting each other when we should be fighting the oppressor. You know what I'm saying? So that's just how I see it. Really respect African Americans and really learn their history, because another thing too that I realized is that when I went to school, I'm not even talking about college, but like, you know, middle school and high school, a lot of the time when they teach you African American history, they only just teach you slavery, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. And I'm not saying that stuff because it is part of the history, but that's not all. They don't tell you about the black inventors. They don't tell you about the people that rose up and fought their oppressors. They don't tell you about just people who, like slaves that taught themselves how to read and freed other people, and not just like it. Like the typical one that they'll show is just a slave running during the night, but there was people who just did it midday, you know what I mean? Like beat up their masters. These are things that people have to learn and see how it connects to you, even if you are African. So that's what I would just say is respect African Americans, because they need some respect put on their name, because I feel like a lot of people shit on them, and it's not just Africans, other people as well. So put some respect on their name. So that's what I wanted to say as far as that. The other thing is that I wanted to say too is the fact that a lot of people, when I talk with them, because like I said, there's this thing that I give off, maybe just when I'm interacting with people. I've had a couple of people tell me like, yo, when you speak Swahili or whatever, you don't sound like Kenyan. And it's like, how am I supposed to sound? Like, you have to understand, my dude, I grew up here 16 years. When you grow up in anywhere, like for 16 years, you adopt the environment, the culture, the way people speak. So at the end of the day, like, you can't really blame me, because I was going to adapt regardless. Even if you put me in Germany, I would have, or China or whatever, you're going to adapt to the environment. So I think a lot of people need to stop doing that, because also at the same time is, now do you want me to go and purposely try to sound Kenyan? I just feel like I'd rather be myself than try to impersonate. Like, I'll give another example so you see what I'm saying, but if I was to go and learn patois, even though I know how people sound when they say it, I'm not gonna go out there and try to sound like patois-ish or like how they sound. I'm just gonna say how it comes out the way it comes out, because I'd rather be more genuine than trying to sound like a Jamaican. You know what I'm saying? And in that case, I was using that example to say, like, when people do all of that, you have to understand, I'm being genuine at the end of the day. I'm not trying to sound like anything. I'd rather just be genuine. So that's another dynamic that I've seen that happen. So it's just kind of weird. Like, maybe someone out there relates to what I'm saying, but that's been my experience as far as growing up here. I think my only thing is I would say that I just wish that I came to this country when I was a little bit older, because I feel like when you come here and you're young, you don't really understand the dynamics. There's a lot of like stuff that I didn't understand, whereas I feel like if I came when I was older, my foundation would have already been like built. So when stuff went left for me, or when I experienced certain things, I wouldn't have been as salty, because I knew what I was dealing with. Because that's the other thing too, is it's unfortunate. Family members back home think that this country is the best, and to me, I just think what they portray on TV is different than what you actually experience here, because my experiences just living in this country have been way beyond me. As far as when I came here, I was expecting something, and then it wasn't until that I got here and I lived here for 16 years that I was like, damn, this is totally different than what they portrayed on the TV. So I think that's just the only thing. And then it's funny because you know, you'd have people telling you, yo, go back to your country and, you know, all this stuff. And it's funny because it's like, but you didn't, like, African Americans built this country. So what are you talking about? You're acting like it's your country, and it's not. African Americans, going back to it, they built this country. They built White House. You know what I'm saying? All these factories, like a lot of, and that's why I'm saying, like, African Americans need their credit. And that's why I feel like I really relate to African Americans. You know what I'm saying? And I have these discussions like all the time. But even when they would say stuff like that, and I'd be like, well, you shouldn't have portrayed that this land is like a land of opportunity, and if you come here and you work hard enough, you'll just get everything. Because, you know, I think at the end of the day, there are opportunities, but I'm just saying the way they portray it on TV is different than what you actually experience. So that's just all I'm saying. And I hope somebody can relate to what I'm saying. So I think that's it as far as like that topic. We're going to go into the next topic. And the next topic is Black History Month. I know it's not Black History Month, we're in May. I'm not crazy, just listen to what I have to say. So I wanted to just talk about the fact that I don't know when this happened. Maybe it's when I started to like read more of our history, watch documentaries, hear people talk about different perspectives as the Black experience. But it's just weird that as Black people, we only celebrate our history, or we allow for people to limit our history to 1 month, you know, pretty much the shortest month of the year, instead of practicing, celebrating, and knowing our history all year long, you know what I mean, or every day that we wake up, you know what I'm saying. And it's just really important that you know your history from the past. And the reason being that if you read your history from the past, you're able to see how you are where you are now, you know what I'm saying. And then when you know where you are now, you can see like maybe what the future is going to bring about. But history is really important, and I just like, I think in the previous episodes I've been stressing so much because it is important, because not a lot of people know their history. Am I saying I know everything? No, I don't. I'm still trying to learn. Every day that I wake up, I'm trying to learn different things, and part of it is Black history, whether it be, you know, African history, whether it be African American history, whether it be parts of different world, because like I said, Black is so broad. So it's just one of those things where I would just recommend to more people, yeah, enjoy Black History Month when it does come, but make sure that you're also taking the time out to do it every day in your life, not just to a month, because I feel like that says a lot. You're only limiting like the knowledge that you can get. And also I want to point at the fact that when people do celebrate Black History Month, as far as society wise, they're always shoving down the same stuff, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, race riots and all that. And I'm not knocking those things, but there's way more than just that, you know what I'm saying. Even in school I had a problem with that, because, you know, as I got older I was just like, damn, they really just only taught us about slavery, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. And even if you look at it, they stressed more on Martin Luther King than they did Malcolm X, because I think Malcolm X really was just like, yo, fuck this shit, we're not about to ask you for freedom, we're about to get it by ourselves. And I think that's where it's unfortunate, which is why I said, like, stress on learning Black history all year long so you know what they're really hiding from you. Because I got this from Hidden Colors, but they know who we are. It's us who doesn't know who we are, which is why I feel like we also have this divide thing with each other. Because one of the biggest problems that I have is that whether you're from Kenya, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Haiti, the Caribbean islands, the one thing is we get caught up so much in where we're regionally from that we forget we're family at the end of the day. At the end of the day, we're over here like talking, like I've seen it like happen where it's just like a Kenyan is so into his country that it's like, yo, fuck Nigerians, we're better than them, or Nigerians, yo, fuck Kenyans, we're better than them, or Zimbabwean, yo, fuck Nigerians, we're Zimbabweans, or whatever the case may be. And it's like, why are we doing that instead of like really being having unity for all of us, no matter what region we come from? So that's the thing, is like these races or claiming, like, you know, whether you're Kenyan, all these things, we've let it get to it so far to our head that we don't even really see what we're missing out on if we weren't so focused on that, you know what I mean? Because even if you want to take it to sociology, which I took, they tell you that race is arbitrary, which means it's non-existent. It's not really real. It's just something that's made up. I get it. We have to have it so that you can say, like, you know, so you can classify where people come from. But at the end of the day, I really think that race was just created so you can just separate people. You know what I'm saying? Race doing that whole thing, it just separates more people than it does it bringing them together. And I feel like that's why it was created. So I know I got a little bit off topic, but I just wanted to say, make sure you celebrate Black history every day of your life and not just limiting it to a month, because it just says a lot about you if all you do is celebrate it for that 1 month. You know, learn about the Black inventors that we've had, as far as for African Americans, learn African history, learn Caribbean history, you know what I'm saying, learn Puerto Rican history, learn Dominican history, you know what I'm saying, because then you'll see that we're family at the end of the day. And that's what I'm just trying to put people onto, is like, we have more in common than we do have separately. Like, obviously we have differences, but there's a lot of similarities that we have. The one thing that I found that a lot of cultures have as far as similarities is food. Like, you go to this country, like I fuck with Indian food, for example, and a lot of Indian foods, they have some similar stuff that I have in my country. Like, if you look at chapati, they have chapati too. They might cook it different or whatever, but they have it too. If you go to the Caribbean islands, they have the same form of chapati, but it's cooked differently. They do stuff differently with it. But that's what I'm saying, is like learning to accept our differences, you know what I'm saying, but also recognizing the similarities that we do have and not putting such a divide towards each other. So I feel like I talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. Tune in for future episodes. Make sure you subscribe, share, comment, like, and I hope to see you on the next episode. I really enjoyed this. With that being said, peace! First off, I think that art is not really appreciated the way it should be, because art runs the world. And it's the one thing where, like, it inspires people, it gives people perspectives, and it's always informative as far as it could teach you something at the end of the day. It could give you a perspective you never looked at. And the one thing, it causes interactions to happen, because these two people might disagree with each other, but, oh, you like that movie too? And, you know, the conversation sparks from there, and people connect through art too. So it's one of those things, a lot of people take art for granted, but I couldn't imagine what a world without art would be like. Music, stand-up comedy, because that's the thing, is art comes in so many forms. People just, I think when they think about art, they think about like art like this.